Welcome back, everybody. Our Big Ten hour rolls on. We chatted some Gophers in the first half hour. We're going to wrap it. We'll talk some Nebraska Cornhusker football. We got plenty of Husker fans at our building that are all perking up now, especially for our next guest who is so plugged in. Been doing this forever and is a great resource to talk on the Huskers, the state of Nebraska football, high school football as well, because there's a couple more studs that are coming up from especially the Omaha area to come up and play at North Dakota State. Sean Callahan joins us from Husker Online on this Wednesday, a week out from the Husker opener on national TV with Cincinnati. Sean sent me a message earlier this week saying, hey, guy in your area might be playing right away. And it was a full stop because Kade Pietrzak is a true freshman. But, Sean, he might be playing like next week for Nebraska.
Yeah, and what's crazy is most of these freshmen get here in January. Kade was one of like 7 that didn't. So 13 of the 20 got here early. He was one of the 7 that came in June. And so for him as a lineman to be ready, first of all, he's kind of walking in to Nebraska at a unique time. Nash Hutmacher graduated.
Yep.
He's in the NFL. Ty Robinson's with the Eagles. And then Jamari Butler went to LSU. So their 3 top guys moved on. So they're moving up a group of players to play more. And there's opportunity in kind of the back of the 2 deep. And that's probably where he falls. You might see him play 10 snaps in Arrowhead, if not more. I mean, I think they've been really impressed with him and his motor, and they know that he's going to be a good player here down the road.
I watched John Butler, the defensive coordinator, his press conference, and that's what you alerted me to it on Monday. What have you seen, or what did he see that stood out to say is athleticism, just his ability to pick up things, or just, hey, go get the quarterback that stood out?
Yeah, just his quickness and natural feel. We were able to watch an open practice for the whole time a couple Saturdays ago. And, he immediately, when the twos came out there, you kind of notice him like, God, Pietrzak's pretty good. Like you notice him, and that's not easy to do at any program as a freshman lineman. And, I think, again, he's kind of walked into a great time at Nebraska because of the graduation, that there is some opportunity maybe at that like back of the 2 deep. And, and then could he grow himself to the front of the 2 deep is probably the question. I don't know if he'll be a starter this year. I wouldn't think, but I do think, 10 snaps a game, if he's playing well, could turn into 20 snaps a game. I mean, by the time the year's over.
How rare is it in your time covering Husker football for a true freshman defensive lineman to play?
Extremely rare. The 4-game redshirt rule has changed that a lot, but even even just playing a game as a lineman in general, it's hard to do. And I just think it's kind of timed out right. And that's probably what's helped this too. But I've had people tell me he would play for a lot of people, not anywhere. I mean, he's that good. That's why Oklahoma went up there. And there's only been 2 notable North Dakota natives recently. And they've both been pretty good at Nebraska. Brent Qualley, NFL lineman out of Williston. And you talk about a guy that was way off the radar when Nebraska recruited him. He had no offers other than FCS at that point, and ended up being a multi-year NFL lineman.
Yeah, that just was a full stop when you were messaging me the other day. I'm like, all right, this is big time news, and I really appreciate you coming on and chatting about it. Here we are. We're a week out. The opener is a week from tomorrow in Arrowhead, as you mentioned, in Kansas City. I know buzz is high. Describe the anticipation for a new Husker football season.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for Nebraska to get this game in Arrowhead, what a break. It was going to be at Cincinnati's home game, but they already have 7 home games, so this was their 8th home game, and they're trying to create a way to make more revenue for NIL. So they were going to move the game to Indianapolis, and that's initially where it was going to be played. And they were going to get about $2 million guaranteed to go to Indy. The Arrowhead organizers said, hey, we'll give you 4 to play the game in Arrowhead, and 4 with a chance to be more, because if Nebraska fans sell it out, you'll get more than 4. Well, it's really close to a sellout right now. It's over 70,000 tickets sold. It's 76,000 capacity. So I think by kickoff, it's going to be pretty much a sellout, if not all the way sold out. And, for Nebraska fans, they have not had a game on the road of this proximity in 15 years. Iowa City has been the closest road trip, and it's Black Friday. So it's kind of hard to get to Iowa on Black Friday with your Thanksgiving. When you play that game at 11 o'clock a lot of years, it's hard to get up on Friday after Thanksgiving and want to make the drive. This is going to be different. I mean, there ain't going to be anybody working in Nebraska on Thursday or Friday because Like my wife's a teacher, and the school districts have already put blackout dates. The teachers can't take those days off
That's
because
hysterical.
they know what's going on. And I'm sure Fargo would be the same way,
Uh,
if the Bison were playing. But yeah, you're going to get 70,000, 75,000 fans, and 90+% is going to be red in the loudest stadium in the NFL.
the anticipation for this after what Matt Rule did last year, can you put your arms around what 2025 with Raiola back? What's a successful season in your mind for the Huskers this year?
Yeah, I think success is at least 8+ wins. In the Big Ten, it's so hard because you don't know who's going to be this year's Indiana
Yeah.
or this
Yep.
year's Illinois. And
Yep.
Nebraska played both those teams last year. And at this very time a year ago, I don't think anyone anticipated them to be ranked top level teams. So you don't know what the Big Ten will bring, especially in this portal era. But what I do know is Dana Holgorsen has really taken a lot off the plate of Matt Rule as the offensive coordinator, and it allows Matt Rule to be more just the head coach. And then John Butler, was on staff, and he was a defensive coordinator. He was the Buffalo Bills secondary coach. He used to be Bill O'Brien's defensive coordinator at one point too. So he's running the show, but right next to him is Matt Rule's former longtime coordinator, a guy named Phil Snow. So I think the coordinators around Rule are the far and away the best he's had. On top of the new special teams guy they brought in, Mike Eckler. He was Tennessee's coordinator. He's a Nebraska native. Only left Tennessee because he wanted to be back around his family. His parents are getting older. So they've upgraded the key coordinator spots, and they went all in on NIL to bring in some key free agent additions from the portal, which that's the game now. How many guys can you retain? But then when you play the free agent market, how many of those top level pieces can you acquire? And Nebraska had a very, very good NIL offseason as far as bringing in those top transfers.
I want to go to that because obviously Marty Brown's name was readily apparent when he went in the portal, being an Omaha kid. And to your knowledge, your reporting, how close were the Huskers in getting him from NDSU to go to Nebraska?
Well, I think if they would have pushed right off the bat, he probably would have come. But the market opened, and then a lot more teams got involved.
Yeah.
And Nebraska was involved. Then they brought him on campus. But I think it becomes a thing where how much money do you want to spend on your running back room when you've already committed a lot to Emmett Johnson, and they moved Isaiah Mosey to running back, and he's going to play as a true freshman. They love him. And then Mekhi Nelson is a redshirt freshman. So they like the room. There's no doubt Brown would have helped Nebraska, but at what price?
Yeah.
And I think they had to make that decision. And Miami definitely used a lot of what they term probably as front-loading money to pay an additional amount. And Miami, the thing is that there's going to be 3 running backs there.
Right.
2 of their top 3 return, and they lost one of those top 3 a year ago. Brown will kind of insert in there, and they like to play like 3 backs that get like 8 to 12 carries each. So like that will be kind of his role in that Hurricane offense. I don't see him being like a, and at Nebraska it probably would have been 10 to 12 carries still too, because Emmett Johnson probably is your top back right now for sure.
The level of high school players down there always staggers me. Just of what and NDSU is flirting. I know they offer guys just to get in there, and sometimes they come here. But I look at Jackson Williams' younger brother. I mean, he's going to go play at Iowa State. You cover this all the time. How legit is NDSU in some of these battles? Like we only see maybe, Sean, the offers. You cover it. Like for some of those guys that the Bison are flirting with, are they being considered, or is it, hey, they offered, and once the bigger schools come in, that's where it's going to go?
I will say the competition for them now has ramped up more than ever before, because you have Fresno State and Washington State.
Yeah.
They're recruiting Nebraska like those guys are still at North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Like those 2 programs were heavily in Nebraska this year. And then you have Dan Jackson back at South Dakota State. And then you have, those 3 are the ones that will primarily battle it out with the Bison. I didn't see Wyoming over here like I used to this year. They just weren't in here as much as far as kids like visiting there and looking at them. But yeah, I think it's safe to say North Dakota State's always going to get 1, maybe 2 Nebraska kids per year. And with the elimination of essentially walk-ons at Nebraska, that's where Iowa State has come in. Iowa State doesn't have a deep NIL budget, so Iowa State's got like 7 Nebraska commits, which is wild. That is the most ever any Power Four team has ever taken out of Nebraska in a year, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because for a lot of those guys, Iowa State was their only Power Four offer. But for them, these are minimum wage roster additions. You don't have to give them rev share and whatnot. So I think when you're in the Big 12, it's a little bit different game right now than the Big 10 as far as the type of player you have to recruit because of the way the money and the NIL and the rev share has shifted the game.
Last thing for you, I want to end where we started. You're talking about a freshman defensive lineman plan. That could happen in the issue with Elijah Wayne out of Omaha. You saw him. The fact he's come in, and again, I can't remember a true freshman playing on the defensive line for North Dakota State. I've covered the team for almost 20 years. How special of a player was he, and can he be at the next level?
Yeah, he was on, in terms of D1 talent, his high school team had like 6 guys that were D1. Torrey Pittman, who's the 5-star for next year.
Yeah.
The running back last year is a junior to be now, and he's got Wisconsin and Nebraska offers Callahan Haney. But yeah, that tandem of Elijah Wayne and then Ike Ackerman, they were excellent edge players, and Ackerman would have been an outstanding Bison with him, but he ended up going to Ohio U. But Elijah Wayne, yeah, just a all-around guy with great upside. I don't think he's been anywhere close to his overall tapped out potential. And I think that's got to be exciting for that coaching staff there. And now the challenge is when you get a freshman that plays that well, you got to keep him.
I know it. Yeah.
I mean, I forgot what the stat I just read was, but the number of smaller conference, all conference level players that have left to go to Power Four, it's remarkable. Yeah. And, it's almost like the FCS leagues need to eliminate the all conference teams because you're just basically giving the big boys.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, we're not going to do an all conference team anymore because we're tired of you guys taking all our players. You can figure out who's good.
So no more preseason polls and now no more all conference lists at FCS is probably the way to go. I know you got to roll, bud. Thanks so much for giving us the upside, and we'll check in during the season, okay?
Yeah, Dom, thank you, and looking forward to the opener Arrowhead and following the Bison if they can get a repeat this year.
Thanks, bud. Sean Callahan, Husker Online. Read his stuff. It's fantastic, and he's got something on Kade Pietrzak now. West Fargo Cheyenne Zone. Might be seeing him on the field next Thursday night when the Huskers open against Cincinnati. We'll break. We come back. We'll wrap things up. Get you ready. We got a busy Sports Wednesday on tap and tell you about a couple fun guests we got on the show tomorrow. We'll do that when Hot Mike wraps right after this.